You might be surprised that what I'm holding in my hand is actually baby food, specifically sweet potatoes. In this hand, I'm holding a jar of sweet potatoes that I bought at my local supermarket, and in this hand, I'm holding a bag of sweet potatoes that I made at home. My name is Chris Dorman, and I'm the father of two beautiful daughters, and I have found that making baby food is more economical and healthier compared to prepackaged, store-bought baby food that you will get at your local supermarket. Today I'll be demonstrating how to make your own baby food at home by preparing, cooking, and storing that food. The first step in making baby food at home is preparing it. Fresh fruits and vegetables are going to take longer to prepare, specifically vegetables. The reason being is because you have to peel and chop most of the vegetables that you will be cooking. However, with fresh fruits, a lot of them take very little time to prepare, and many of them can skip the cooking process and simply be blended and stored. Foods like bananas and melons and mangoes can be peeled, blended, and stored right away with no cooking at all. More often than not, frozen foods are quicker to prepare and generally only need to be steamed before they're blended and they're stored. Many people believe that fresh fruits and vegetables are actually a healthier option compared to frozen, but that's actually not the case. EatingHealthy.com states that frozen foods are actually just as healthy, if not healthier, than fresh foods. And the reason being is because frozen foods are frozen at their peak ripeness. And when it's at their peak ripeness, fresh fruits and vegetables are the most nutritious. So, frozen foods are actually more nutritious for you than fresh foods. The next step in making homemade baby food is cooking. As mentioned before, many of the foods that you will be doing won't need to be cooked at all, but most of them will need to be cooked before you can blend them and before you can store them. You can steam or boil the food, and the cook time will vary depending upon the foods that you'll actually be making. This is actually what I use. I use a simple steaming pot. It's a pot that you put some water in, it has a basket that you place the food in, and it has a top that you place on it when you're steaming it, but some people prefer to boil it. I chose to steam my food because I think it's a little bit quicker and it's easier to clean up. Once the food is cooked, you will then transfer the food to a processor or a blender. I personally have chosen a NutriBullet. It's not very big, but as you can see, it certainly gets the job done very quickly, but any food processor or blender will work just as well. You will also need to add water to this before you can blend it up. The water will vary depending upon the type of food that you have, as well as the consistency and the texture that your baby needs. More water is going to give you a smoother, more consistent texture. Less water will give you a chunkier texture, but again, you'll need to vary it upon what type of food your baby actually needs. Once the food is pureed, you'll then move to the last step, which is storage. For this step, you'll need ice cube trays and Ziploc bags. The reason for the ice cube tray is that in each individual cube, it stores approximately 1 ounce of baby food. And this makes it very easily to properly portion out the food for your child. Once you do that, evenly disperse the food throughout the food trays and place that food in the freezer. Once the food is frozen, the frozen cubes can then be placed in a Ziploc bag. It's important that you write on the front of the bag the type of food that you have put in there, as well as when you cook that food. Frozen baby food has to be eaten within 3 to 6 months of when you actually cooked it. To serve, you simply pop out one of the cubes, put it in a bowl, place it in the refrigerator, and allow it to thaw overnight. As I stated before, it is much cheaper to make baby food at home than buying it store-bought. This jar of baby food cost me 60 cents at my local supermarket. However, I was able to buy a fresh sweet potato that cost me $1.18. And from that, I made over 30 ounces of baby food compared to just 4 ounces of store-bought jar food. So big difference there for not that much more money. Each parent ultimately has to decide what's best for their child. For me, knowing that my child is eating healthy as well as cost efficiently gives me a good feeling. Why don't you try to make baby food at your own home? I guarantee that you'll find that it's well worth it for you.